Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're reading Surah Ibrahim alayhi salam, and we were looking at these ayat, verses number 37 to 41, how Ibrahim alayhi salam leaves his family, which means Hajar alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi salam, at this valley, which is Makkah. What? And we want to see, we also looked at the hadith from Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, narrated by Jubair, which suggests that how Rasul, how Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam left his son there, and this thing. So we are looking at it now. I want to go back to Torah to see how this story is narrated there, because some of the missing ideas that we don't find, because if we don't have the entire story from both these narrations, from both the traditions, we miss out something which we don't understand. So we say, how come this, how come this, how come this? So we were looking at how Ismail Islam comes to Makkah when he was still suckling, when he was still infancy. Now we will look at Genesis. Now I'd like to introduce you to the Torah. There are 5 books of Torah in the Bible. This big book, this Bible. It has about 67 or whatever number of books. 42 or 46 books from Torah, from Old Testament, from the Jews' books, and in Christians' books, the other 23 or 22, whatever. So they have there. And then first 5 books are the books of alluded to, referred to by Musa alayhi salam, or to Musa alayhi salam, and these are 5. Pentateuch, they're called Pentateuch. Pentateuch, 5 books. 5 books of Torah. Torah is guidance. The first book is Genesis, and second is Exodus. As Musa alayhi salam takes out his people from Egypt to the Sinai. And third book is Leviticus, which is Levi is Harun, Harun and Musa alayhi salam's earlier forefather. From Yaqub alayhi salam, Levi, and from Levi you have Imram, and from Imram you have Harun and Musa and Maryam alayhi salam. And so these people come from Levi, Le'ilaf Quraysh, Ilaf. So Laf is one who brings together something. So Levi is the third son of Yaqub alayhi salam, and third son means first son is Robin or Robel, and second son is Simeon, and third son is Levi, fourth is Judah, and you go on. So this book of Leviticus means this is the book of law given to the family of Levi, which is for Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam. So this, and the fourth book is Numbers, book of Numbers. It is a book of census. So they arrange, Jethro or Shoaib alayhi salam, the father of Safura alayhi salam, he comes and he guides, Musa alayhi salam how to, arrange his people and how to make them, sit around this tent around the Sakina, and then they say how everybody's duty, this very organization. So there's some kind of a discipline thing that comes in, the people of Bani Israel. So this is in Numbers, and their behavior, and etc. And then this is fourth book, and the fifth book is the Deuteronomy. So as the word suggests, it's second book of law, Deuteronomy. So some of these books are written after exile, post-exilic, which means when they were taken by Nebuchadnezzar as captive in 587, they return and then say who will go, anybody remembers Torah, and nobody knew Torah. So Isra alayhi salam, he recited some Torah to them, and then he rewrote from his memory or from his perception of whatever he remembered. So this Torah is rewritten by Isra after exile, after coming back from exile during the days of Kurosh Kabir and Dariush. So these people have to be thankful to the Iranians for the Iranians helping them, the Medians, these Kurosh Kabir and other descendants, kings of Iran, up to Dariush's second, Khashayar Shah, and Dariush third, or whatever. So these are, these people come. So these are 5 books. Now, coming back to the book of Genesis, this is the first book. Genesis, Paidash, Takun, or whatever in Arab, Takween, creation, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. So the first chapter is about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates heavens and earth and all this. And the first 2 chapters actually. So this the scholars suggest that the first chapter is from priestly tradition, and the second chapter is from the tradition of Jehovah tradition. So this is what the scholars suggest. That repetition of the same thing in different words, a few words here and there are different. First two chapters are almost similar, and then third chapter you find Adam alayhi salam, eating this from this tree, and then the fourth chapter takes you to the murder of Qabil and by Qabil, murder of Habil. So this goes on. And then fifth chapter takes you to Adam's other descendants up to Nuh alayhi salam, and Nuh alayhi salam. Sixth chapter takes you to wickedness of humankind, in general, and then the seventh, the great flood, the deluge of Nuh alayhi salam, and eighth chapter is flood subsides, and ninth chapter is about the covenant with Nuh alayhi salam. The Misaq with Nuh alayhi salam, Nama. And so it's the 9th chapter, and then 10th chapter is about nations descendant from Nuh alayhi salam, and the descendants of Sham, and descendants of Ham, and descendants of this Yachaz, whatever his name is. And the 11th chapter is about creation, the tower, building of tower, and people becoming different, and descendants of Sham going to this place, and different of this. And then you come to Hazrat Ibrahim or Terah. Terah is the Azar, we call Azar, father of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So in the 11th chapter, Terah and his descendants. So Terah has 3 sons. He has Ibrahim alayhi salam is one of his sons. The other son is Nahor, and the third son is Haran. So this is one of this Haran. I think he falls down in the fire, which was supposed to have been created for Ibrahim alayhi salam. When Ibrahim alayhi salam comes out, Haran says, "I can also perhaps. What will the fire do to me?" So he gets killed there. And then Sarah is daughter of Haran, perhaps. And Ibrahim alayhi salam has his own wife, but this Tara has his own wife, but he also marries the widow of Haran. So Haran's daughter is Sarah. So Sarah is in a way Ibrahim's step sister. So in that way, because she marries Terah, or Azar marries Haran. So this is the story of from book of Genesis. Anyway, so now we come to the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. In the 12th chapter, the story, Ibrahim alayhi salam is asked to just go to the country that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show him. So in Quran, he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show me. I'm muhajirun ilallah. I'm doing hijrat for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will show me, guide me. So wherever He guides. So first he goes to Haran, now it's in Syria, at the border of Turkey. And from there he goes on to Canaan, which is Palestine. And he stays there some time, and then there's a famine there. So he moves on to Egypt. And in Egypt, this king, there's a story in Genesis, and also in our tradition, Sarah alayhi salam is taken by Pharaoh, and then she is miraculously saved, and she comes back, and the king of this country, he argues, and you can see this argument of the king of that country. Maybe it's argument of Nimrod at the after Ayatul Kursi 255, and then more three ayat more, and then you have this story of king, who argues with Ibrahim alayhi salam. So that king perhaps is Nimrod, or perhaps this king of Egypt. So whichever, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So he is there, and then when this miraculously Sarah is sent back, the king sends him and gives him his maidservant or daughter. Rabbis say that she was her daughter. Hajra alayhi salam was a daughter, according to the rabbinic tradition of this king, because he said, who will be better for my daughter than you? You are man of God. So he gives his daughter. But even if she's not daughter, she has been brought up in this court of king, and she's upper class. If it belongs to upper class, she's not like any maid servant in any person. She's very important in that way. So from chapter 12 you start the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and the third chapter they are returning. Ibrahim alayhi salam and Lut alayhi salam, they separate in the 13th chapter, and then 14th chapter is this. He meets Malik al-Sidq, king, and the 5 kings from the east. They come of Iran and Iraq and Mesopotamia. These five different kings. They attack, and four kings. This. So there's the narration of these kings coming to Syria and then attacking and taking away Lut alayhi salam, taking away other kings, and then Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam is told, informed that your cousin has been taken away, or your nephew has been taken away. So he goes with his 318 persons, and brings them back, and he defeats all those kings. So this is it's very. It is a very hard to understand this chapter, 14th, but he meets Malik al-Siddiq, and the descendant of Sam, who is in Salem, the city of Salem, which will become Jerusalem. So Jerusalem already belongs to people who are descendants of Sam, Semitic people, and of course they are on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he is Kohen of Allah Aliyun, so this Malik al-Sidq is the king of truthfulness, alhamdulillah. So he was also like a prophet of that time, Kohen of that time, according to Hebrew language. So he was there, and Ibrahim alayhi salam and this Malik al-Sidq, they meet, and they exchange these blessings. He blesses him, and he blesses him back. So the Malik al-Sidq blesses Ibrahim alayhi salam. And this is 14th chapter, very difficult to understand, but very important from that perspective, because in our own story, we have 318 persons who go to war against these 1,000 persons at the place of Badr. So this is a similar situation as you have in chapter 14, Ibrahim alayhi salam going with 318 persons and coming back victorious and defeating all those kings, and bringing Saddam, king of Saddam, and other people. They come and pay their tribute, etc., etc. Chapter 15, God's covenant with Ibrahim alayhi salam, that I'll bless you, and all the nations will bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. So this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's covenant with Ibrahim alayhi salam, given in chapter number 15. It's very important because we Muslimin, the followers of Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, are the only ones who bless Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam in every prayer. When we do at-tahiyat and qaidah, sitting, while we are sitting, we are the ones who do at-tahiyat lillah, and then Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammadin kama sallayta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. We are the ones who bless. They don't do the blessing. We do it. Alhamdulillah. And we say Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. And we then recite this Rabbi ja'alni muqim as-salat. This is all related with Ibrahim alayhi salam. So in three different these parts of this dua and at-tahiyyat, we bless Ibrahim alayhi salam and we make the dua that Ibrahim alayhi salam makes. So this is very important to understand. Now this is in chapter 15. Now chapter 14 or chapter 15 or chapter 12, these chapters do not mention Hajra alayhi salam. And now 16th chapter, because after having lived again, coming back from Egypt, Ibrahim alayhi salam lives 10 more years, and then Hajra alayhi salam is given to him as wife, by Sarah alayhi salam herself. She says, marry this. This is she is your wife. Okay, so she is his wife, and then she she becomes pregnant, and then Sarah alayhi salam somehow becomes very, very jealous, because she thinks this is her perception, and of course it's given in Torah that she became very proud. That Hajra alayhi salam became proud, and Sarah alayhi salam, Sarah means princess. She's princess, alhamdulillah. So very great in her first name is Sarai, my princess. So Ibrahim alayhi salam's princess. But now she becomes, she says, she thinks that Hajra alayhi salam has become proud. She's my maidservant or whatever. And so she says to, she starts abusing Hajra alayhi salam. This is in Torah, in chapter 16. And she gives him this one, and then becomes jealous and beats her, and she runs away. Hajra alayhi salam runs away. At this stage, this girdle thing that we talked about, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said she was the first one who made the girdle to hide from Sarah, because she did not want Sarah alayhi salam to find her out. So this is the portion there. But then in this story, Sarah in Torah, Hajra alayhi salam goes out, and the angel comes to her, and he says, Hajra, where are you going? Where are you coming from? And where are you going? She said, I'm running away from my mistress, from my lady. She beats me. She's very harsh on me, etc., etc. So she said, no, you go back, and I will, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make great nation out of your son. You have son in your belly, and he will be born, name him Ismail, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make him a great nation. So this is in 16th chapter. Now I'm going to read the chapter, inshallah, to you, and see how it goes. So this entitled, by the editors, The Birth of Ismail, chapter 16th of Torah, book of Genesis. Now, Sarah, Abraham's wife, bore him no children. She had an Egyptian slave girl whose name was Hagar, and Sarai said to Abraham, his name is Abraham now, not Ibrahim. Later on he will be named Ibrahim alayhi salam by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At this stage, according to Genesis, his name is Abraham. Now you see that the Lord this is Sarah alayhi salam is speaking to him. She says, you see that the Lord has prevented me from bearing children. Go into my slave girl. It may be that I shall obtain children by her. Now this is what their understanding, that if you don't, the first wife does not have children, she makes her husband marry second wife, and the children will be called after the name of the first wife, because she is the mother also. So of course we also have this situation, and we call the other lady mother, or khala, masi, or whatever. So this is the way it works. It used to work with them also. So she says, go into her, and you see that the Lord has prevented me from bearing children. Go into my slave girl. It may be that I shall obtain children by her. And Abraham alayhi salam listen to the alayhi salam. They don't say alayhi salam. We cannot but say alayhi salam. And so they say, Abraham listened to the voice of Sarai. And so after Abraham had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, Sarai, Abraham's wife, took Hagar. So this is the second time writing, same thing, saying it second time. So Sarai, so after Abraham had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, after coming back from Egypt, she means, Sarai, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, the Egyptian, her slave girl, and gave her to her husband Abraham as a wife. He went into her, and she conceived. So this is conception. And when she saw that she had conceived, she means Hajar alayhi salam, when she saw that she had conceived, she was pregnant, she looked with contempt on her mistress. This is their perception. She looked at with contempt, hatred, looking down. She cannot bear. She is this and this. This is maybe Sarah alayhi salam thought. Maybe Hajar alayhi salam was not, arrogant. Maybe she was. We don't know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But this book, if you remember, this was written by Ezra, or other people after Ezra. So, this is also the perception is there. So let's take it as it is. So she, as for me, she looked with contempt on her mistress. Then Sarai said to Abraham, now this is very important to understand. Sarai said to Abraham, may the wrong done to me be on you. Now she was the one who suggested, and now she said, may the wrong done to me be on you. You are responsible. May it be on you. I gave my slave girl to your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, she looked on me with contempt. May the Lord judge between you and me. She says, may the Lord judge between you and me. She's blaming Allah. How can she blame? She is, such a noble lady. But this is the way they say. May Lord judge. Now, how can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judge? What's wrong with? So this is may the wrong done to me be on you. I gave my slave girl to your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, she looked on me with contempt. May the Lord judge between you and me. But Abraham said to Sarai, this is important, your slave girl is in your power. Do to her as you please. Now, then Sarai dealt harshly with her, and she ran away from her. Now, this is very important, this sentence. And then Sarai dealt harshly with her, and she ran away from her. Hajar alayhi salam, she ran away from Sarai alayhi salam. Now, this seventh verse, it says, the angel of the Lord found Hajar alayhi salam by a spring of water. She was somewhere, we don't know where. There was somewhere, it was not Zamzam. Zamzam has yet to be created. It was somewhere in the place near where Palestine. So it was by a spring of water in the wilderness. It was wilderness desert, nothing growing there. Wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur, it says. So maybe they have, explanation where this place was. And he said, Hagar, the angel is addressing her. Hagar or Hajar, slave girl of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? And she said, I am running away from my mistress Sarai. And said that the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her. The angel of the Lord also said to her, I will so greatly multiply your offspring that they cannot be counted for multitude. Then it shall be so many, so large that they will not be able to count, and nobody will be able to count them. And the angel of the Lord said to her, so this is, and this is like a poetic, expression. So maybe later on we will read in Hebrew. See, I cannot read Hebrew, but transliteration. So you can do this. Now you have conceived and shall bear a son. You shall call him Ishmael. He said, for the Lord has given heed to your affliction. He given heed to your affliction. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has heard your affliction, your hardship that you have been going through. And so your Lord has heard your affliction. So this is, and he shall be a wild ass of a man. Now the word that they've used here in Hebrew and translating as ass or donkey, this is a very improper word. And this Caledoni, who has written Muhammad in the Bible, he explains that this is wrong translation. And we will look back later on, inshallah, at this word. Just because they have this something against Ismail Islam, so they want to translate words which are contemptuous. So this will be like an S fight. S's don't fight with people. You look at how many S's are fighting against lions. Actually, lion, S's run away from lions. This is in Surah Mudassar. So here, he shall be wild ace of a man, he says, with his hand against everyone and everyone's hand against him, and he shall live at odds with all his kin. Kin is his relatives, his people. So he will be at odd with all his kin. So this is actually true about these Arab. They are fighting against each other, fighting, and Netanyahu has a good time, He's happy that they are fighting, and Obama is happy that they are fighting against each other. No, even today, Arabs fighting against each other, against one another, all these Arab, Muarrabina and also Arab, all of them. So she named the Lord who spoke to her, you are El Roy. For she said, have I really seen God and remained alive after seeing him? She said, you are El Roy. El is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Roy, one who sees. Basir in the meaning of Basir. For she said, have I really seen God and remained alive after seeing him? Therefore, the well was called Bir al-Hayy Roy. Bir al-Hayy, Hayy is living, and Ra, one who sees. Hayy, one who Hayyun Basir, whatever in Hebrew. Ra, one who sees. It lies between Kadesh and Berud. So these Berud, so the people who are familiar with these areas, they will be they'll know where it is. Hajar bore Abraham a son, and Abraham named his son whom Hagar bore Ishmael, and Abraham was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. So this place is called Bir al-Hayy Roy. And I stop here, inshallah al-amin, and then we read chapter 17.